I want to get the intro right. Okay, let me get all loose. Okay, here we go.
You're two in your head.
Welcome to Thought Cops, the only podcast where every week we police the mean streets of the internet because, hey, somebody's got to do it. And then we let you be the judge, the jury, and the executioner in the court of public opinion. Coming to you live from Neo, Chicago, I'm Officer Kevin. How can I help you?
Now I go?
Yes.
I'm Officer Grant. Hey, third time's a charm, isn't it?
That's right, Grant. Thanks for giving our listeners a peek behind the wonderful curtain of our fine show as we tinker and tune with the season 2 of Thought Cops and figure out just what's going to work, what's going to stick, and what's going in the crapper.
We really do need to just sit down and just bang out an intro. Because we have not done that. Every time we start this, we're just like, oh, I don't know. We'll just do something. So
we need a new intro. We need a new theme song. We need a new everything, people. Help us out. Patreon.com/ThoughtCops. We're trying to rent out a studio for this thing, for crying out loud. We'd like to, at least. That would be a lofty ambition. But with us today, we have a returning guest to the show. We have Jab with us. How are you, Jab?
Yo, how's it going? It's glad to be back. And I gotta say, I do kind of miss the old Screaming Kevin intro. But I am adapting to the change of the show, the new show format.
I'm not writing it off. I do still scream from time to time, but we are trying something new. There's a new format for the show. There's a new feel. There's a new vibe. We're just testing it out. Speaking of, I want to share with you both, I had a very strange experience this evening.
Ooh.
And it happened to happen right before we recorded, and I was like, okay, well, that's going to be content, of course. So I was driving home from work, and I parked my car. I got out of my car.
Did you drive past the Timcast poster?
No,
billboard?
not today, because every time I do, I'm like, that's going to be us one day up there. They're going to tear down the big. For Jab, there is a giant Tim Pool billboard in this city. That's quite the eyesore. But no, I was driving home from work. I parked my car, and I get out of the car and walk into my apartment. And then this guy is walking his dog, normal looking guy, and he goes, "Look at that guy. He's neurotic." I'm like looking around. Nobody else is there, and I just stop, and I'm like, "Are you talking about me?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, and he turns to his dog. He's like, "See, look at him. He's so neurotic."
Oh, so
I have no idea who this guy is. He was. He's like, yeah, he was. He's like, I'm like, you think I'm neurotic? And I've been thinking I don't know.
Why
I have
are
a
you
lot of
talking
neurotic
to
tendencies.
these people? Why are you responding to crazy people? Just leave them alone.
I'll explain.
He's talking to his
for
dog.
moments like this, so we can have stuff to talk about on the podcast.
I guess so. That's fair.
No, I've been getting in my head recently. I have a lot of neurotic tendencies. I've had a lot of neurotic tendencies for a long time. And this guy, I didn't think I was acting neurotic. And this guy just hey, look at that guy. He's so neurotic. He's so fucking neurotic. And he's again, turns to his dog and he's talking to the dog to tell him this. And I'm like, are you talking about me? He's like, yeah, you. I'm like,
that's how you can tell that dog is his only friends. They when they talk to them directly, one-on-one like that. That's how you can tell.
It was so bizarre. And then he goes he's like, yeah, you. I'm like, why do you think I'm neurotic? And he's like, because your jacket, man. And I'm just wearing this fake leather jacket. I've had this shitty fake leather jacket for years. I just was wearing it. I'm like, my jacket. He's like, yeah, it's neurotic as fuck. I'm like, okay.
Did you ask him if he knew what the word neurotic means? Because I wouldn't attribute that to a jacket.
And then he goes, you know what, man? You got some fucking balls. Nobody ever engages. You actually he's like, you know what? I got to give it to you, man. You stood there and you talked back to me. That's fucking crazy. Nobody ever engages. I'm like,
so you're far from the first person he's tried this with. You're
guess.
The 20th or 30th.
I guess. And he looked normal. He wasn't completely out of it, but he was definitely I don't know what. He seemed completely fine aside from talking to his dog. And then I'm like, all right, man, have a good night. And I'm walking back to my apartment. I'm wearing a backpack because I bring a backpack to work. I bring some stuff and everything. And I turn my back and
nerd.
Yeah. Well, he basically then he goes look, it's the backpack too. And I turn around, I'm like, what? He's like, and I shit you not, he goes, I was talking to my dog.
Oh my God.
And then, this is a not well person that you're spending a lot of time engaging with. And you're like, is it me? Am I really that neurotic? I feel insane right now. And it's like, just don't respond. The only people that I respond to are the people that like ask me direct questions. Like, and even still, like, there was the other day, I was walking home and like there was this like younger kid. I don't know, it was something like in his 20s or younger or something like that. And he was like, hey, excuse me, do you know what time it is? And I was like, it's like 6:15 right now or something like that. And he was like, oh, thank you. You know, not a lot of people talk to me. I ask a lot of people a lot of questions and not a lot of people talk to me. You know what they usually say? They usually say, fuck you. And I was like, Jesus Christ, why did I do that? Why did I respond?
Love the city,
I should have just fucking walked past, but I just figured someone's going to ask me a direct question. Usually, you know, they're fine or whatever. And it's just like,
and like, I
just
know,
like, why do you engage?
Like, I've been living in the city for like almost a decade. I've been like, I you know, like you, Grant, we both grew up in Chicagoland, took a lot of field trips to the city, took a lot of trips with the family to the city. We got accustomed to like when you're out and about around Chicago, if strange people are talking to you, you just kind of ignore it. But there was something about this guy that I was just like, he wasn't like completely off his rocker, and he didn't like, it wasn't about like, hey, can I have a few bucks or something or whatever. It was like, he seemed completely normal, but he was having like a back and forth with his dog. And I'm like, I'm like, why does he, I guess I was like, I'll admit it, I was like a little bit self-conscious. I'm like, wait, what do you mean I'm neurotic? I want to find out like if he knew something.
Towards a stranger? I will never be self-conscious towards a stranger. Think whatever you want. I don't care.
Well, like I said, it's something I've been thinking. It's like, it's weird because I was like just having a conversation about it last night. So it was like the fact that this guy, like, it's like he saw something and I'm like, what do you mean? And like, and then I just realized that he's, again, just having a fucking full-on conversation with his dog. And I don't know.
Maybe
it was
this
so
guy
bizarre.
was a little neurotic.
I mean, hey, that's a guy that has nothing to lose if he's just that confident in like shit talking someone right in front of him to his dog. Like I wish I had a fifth of that confidence.
It wasn't even like, it wasn't even straight up shit talking, like, because he wasn't like, oh, it's the way you're at. He's like, it's your fucking jacket, man. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, this sounds like someone with maybe.
I gotta give it to you, man. Nobody ever engages, and like again, he wanted nothing from me. Like usually, you'd expect, okay, like I said, give me a few bucks or whatever, but no. He got mad at me when I tried to talk to him again because, like I said, he brought up the backpack thing. I'm like, excuse me? And he's like, again, I was talking to my fucking dog. And then I hear him like muttering to his dog and they walk the other way.
It's like his own aggressive way of saying, I never thought I'd get this far. Like I thought I couldn't even get one response, let alone two. What is happening?
I know. I think you're right. Like, it's like, it was just like something about the curiosity of the situation was like, I have to find out what's going on here. You know what I mean?
I've definitely, I get what you're saying. I feel like I've had moments where it's like, I'm just going to continue, or I'm going to remain in this context just to see what happens sort of thing. I get that. It sounds like you had a run-in with someone with some mild psychosis, that maybe it wasn't generally afflicting him to like a horrific degree, you know, but it sounds just like, you had a moment there.
No, what was that old like Bible cartoon, like the stop motion one, Davy and Goliath?
Oh, I have no
it was
idea.
Davy and Goliath, and they grew up, and they're no longer talking about the Bible. They're just like gossiping about people they see on the street. He's like, oh, I don't know, Davy. I don't think he looks that neurotic. That doesn't make any sense. How can a jacket make somebody look neurotic? Quiet, you. Something like that.
And the whole time they're just like, oh, these people won't engage with us. We can say whatever we want. And then they meet you. And then they're like so like shocked, like, oh my God, this person wants to like actually have a conversation with us. This is not what was planned.
And it's one of those things where it's like, Grant, you know this, like you and I have had some very strange run-ins with people in this city. Like remember that one St. Patrick's Day when and I'll keep this short, but like there was like one time when like me, Grant, and two of our friends went to this restaurant, Mr. Greek's. They sell like gyros and French fries and stuff. And we were sitting down at the table to eat. And this guy...
I think we were just waiting for our food. Were we even eating at that point?
I don't even know. But this guy, this huge guy, no idea who he is. He just pulls up a chair at our table, slams it on the ground, sits on it backwards like this, and he goes like, "We're getting into a fucking fight tonight. You guys are getting fucked up." And we're like looking at a table of 4 of us.
There was like more than, wasn't it more than that? It was like 6 of us. It was just like a table full of like.
It was me, you, Ron, and Fernando.
Oh, that was it? I thought that there was more people, 1 or 2 more.
And
people.
then I just remember glancing across the table at you, and like you had like an unopened like pop can, and you were like slowly kind of like grabbing it up, like okay, like if worst comes to worst, I got something to hit him over the head with.
I'm neurotic in the sense that I'm assuming that everybody has either a knife or a gun and is going to use a weapon, and so I'm going to use like a weapon back. I hope my aim is good, but
take this, Dr. Pepper.
It's the best shot you got. If you can knock someone out with a fucking can of something, that's best case scenario. I haven't gotten shot yet, and I would prefer not to. I don't want to know what that's like. And that could just be anybody. That could be literally just anybody.
Well, remember what happened though? Like, I just like got up and like scolded him and started yelling at him and told him to get out.
And he did.
And he just got up and left.
Yeah.
I don't know, like something like snapped in me, and I just stood up and I'm like, get the fuck away from us. I'm like, leave this place and never fucking come back.
Kevin, I'm noticing a trend of you like giving people the reactions they weren't expecting when they try to provoke you. Like this is like the second story in a row where someone was like, I wasn't expecting you to have that reaction. Okay, I'm out. I got other ones. I got stories for days, but I'll save those for another time.
A large amount of stories where like a stranger interacts with him and he interacts back. Like because the guy on St. Patrick's Day directly said something to me, and I just stonewall people. I'm just keeping an eye on you. He said something about like. What do you say? He's like, "Oh, you're tall. You play basketball. No one fucking cares." And I was just like,
"Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that."
But that stonewall reaction is probably what people like him are used to. And then when they see Kevin who like talks back, that's when they're like surprised. Right. They're like, "Okay, never mind."
One time, someone threatened to like beat the shit out of Kevin because he was like listening to Come Town or something like that.
No, yeah. I was. No, it was this guy, and this guy was for sure a tweaker. That's why this is the kind of guy I ignore. Like, he was like, all whatever. And I was going to the train station, and he wanted to squeeze through the turnstile with me because he didn't want to pay the $2.25 to get on the train. And he's like, I had my headphones and I was listening to Come Town or something. And then he's like, hey man, he's like, it's a very small turnstile. And he goes like, hey, can I just like squeeze in there with you really quick? It's going to be really quick. Let me just get in there. He's kind of like, I'm like, no. I'm like, not interested.
There's like not enough space too, anyway.
There's not enough space. And then like I had my headphones in. I think I just was like listening to something in the podcast and it made me chuckle. I'm like, and then I go through the turnstile and I walk down this like underground tunnel and like I'm waiting for the train. And then I hear like off in the distance like, hey, you fucker! And then I just like, I'm like, what? And I look over and this guy's like charging at me. And he's holding a metal cube in his hand, and he goes like, I'm gonna bash your fucking face in with this right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like,
if you had a Red Bull can, you would have been properly armed against this perpetrator of a violent crime. But
that goes to tell you, folks at home, never leave home in the city without a full beverage to hit someone over the head with.
Hey, anything's a weapon, So you just gotta arm yourself with knowledge.
He had this like unmistakable like Monster Energy logo tattoo on his cheek, like the green claw marks, and he's God. Like, he's tweaking out. He's like shaking, and he's like screaming bloody murder in my face, like, you were laughing at me, you were fucking laughing at me, you think I'm a fucking joke? And I'm like, no man, I was listening to something. I don't know what you're talking about.
I was listening to Come Town.
I'm listening to Come Town. You love it. No, and it was just like, and again, I was waiting for the train, and I'm like the whole time, like, please come very, very soon. And he would, and it wasn't like a thing I could ignore because he was like fucking like wielding this thing in my head basically. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm trying to like talk him down. Like, I'm like, I wasn't laughing at you. And then thank God the train shows up, the one going the other direction. So it's everybody coming from downtown because I was going to your place to record, Grant.
Right.
And then everybody from downtown gets off the train and it's like, rush hour. So everybody,
just you and him.
all these people in suits just like basically carry him off like a sea. And like, I remember he was like, hey, and these guys were like, fucking knock it off. And he got like carried off because people were like not having his shit. And I'm like, and there was a part of me because I'm like, I live right by the train station, and I'm thinking like, I hope I never see the Monster Man again. Like, because he said
that monster face tattoo is like the equivalent of like a teardrop tattoo, but instead of killing someone, it's like, I've thrown a monster can at someone before. Here's my marking.
It was so bizarre, but it's also like unrecognized. It's like, you know, like it's hard to miss, and it's like one of those things where it's like, he said if he saw me again, he was going to kill me, and that was about 3 or 4 years ago. Still kicking. Hopefully, I don't see him tomorrow for some reason. But anyway,
I would never live anywhere else, though. This is my favorite place to live.
It's a fun time.
It's like how many other times you get like a story like that, you know?
One of my favorite encounters, I was still in Florida, and I was like smoking outside of a bar with my friend, and I had like really long hair back then, and so did my friend. And there was this older guy that came and started like talking to us, and he kept saying, y'all are just smoking cigarettes. I got some weed back at my place. I know it ain't legal here yet, but I got the stuff. And then I was like, nah, man, it's fine. I'm okay with cigs for now. And he kept on engaging me more and more, and started to get more and more flirtatious. So because I'm kind of stupid too, and I like to see where things go, I kind of humored him. So he told me to start following him to his car. But as I got up and started following him, he saw my face with like my scruff. And then he just started screaming, oh, I thought y'all were girls. Oh, y'all are F slurs. And he just like screamed the F slur really loud. And then his pants fell down like immediately after he said that. And then he said, no, I'm getting away from you fuckers. And he trips over a parking stub, like those like parking stub things. And when he falls like face flat on the concrete, his underwear also falls. So now his balls are being shown to like everyone that's smoking outside.
No, it's an accident. No, it's not me. It's not my fault. Oh, oops, I fell. My underwear
Jab,
fell
please tell me it was please tell me it was those like boxer shorts, like the white ones with the heart patterns on them.
Oh, I wish, because the guy looked like that cartoon old man that you would expect to have underwear like that, like really tall, bald. Yeah, but no, they were just regular loose boxers that I guess fell because his pants fell. So like his big ass scrotum just like was showing to everyone. And I was still trying to help him, but then he started screaming, "No, you F word, stay away from me." And like started like yelling at me as if I was the one like leading him on. And I was like, you came up to me. I was minding my own business. And yeah, like that's what happens when you entertain people that talk to you like that, I guess. You just get into situations like that.
The mystery's been solved, actually. Zwick is in the chat here. He says, that was me and I'm sorry.
Oh, damn. You got a lot younger. that dude was in like his 60s, 70s.
Yeah, Zwick likes inserting himself in places where he's not welcome. Such as this conversation, but that is like, that would have made for a crazy internet video if someone would have had their phone out and just been recording the entire interaction. That would have, because I like don't believe you that happened. That's completely, I am completely
that was gold.
That would actually happen.
Yeah, no,
Jab,
you're right.
You currently live in Los Angeles, right?
I do, yeah.
You got to have some crazy stories out there. This is the crazy city story episode.
They call it La La Land.
La La Land. Surprisingly, no. Like the guy that you were talking to who called you neurotic, who would like complain that like no one ever engages. That seems to be the people that I'm around all the time. Are like people. This is like a very antisocial like city. However, not on the streets. I did have a experience at a liquor store recently that I was at. I went to a liquor store because another store I was going to was closed. So I was like, okay, I'll go get some alcohol. And I went to go buy some alcohol, but my phone was dying and I needed to get an Uber. So I asked the gas station driver to charge my phone. And while I was waiting for my phone to be charged, these two black dudes come in and they start like looking at all the merchandise, and they keep complaining how the prices have raised since they got there. And when they bring their food to the cashier raises the prices even more on them. And I'm in the back of the store being like, oh no, what is happening? And the guys are understandably upset. He was like, hell no, this was $2.50. Now it's $2.75. And then he goes, all right, well now it's $3. And then they go, man, fuck you, man. I don't want your food anyway. And then they started calling him the N-word. He was like, fuck you, bitch ass N-word. And then the cashier gets really angry and goes, don't call me the N-word. You're the N-word. You N-word. And just starts saying the hard R and everything. And then this guy like pulls out. I didn't have time to see what he pulled out, but just in case it was a weapon, I ducked immediately. And I was
Smart.
I cannot be in a worse situation. My phone is behind the cash register. I don't have a car. And this guy may or may not have pulled a gun out. Like, I am a part of a store robbery type situation now. And then he pulls something out. The guy under the cashier comes out with like a baseball bat or something. And the two guys run out with all their food they didn't pay for. And the cashier runs out to try to like smash the windows of their car. And then when he comes back in, he locks the door with me inside of the liquor store. And then he looks at me and he goes, "You're safe now." And I was like, I'm more afraid of you than those guys.
To you.
Dude.
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
And this
You're
cashier
safe
is
now,
like,
as he's holding a baseball bat. What the fuck?
yeah, I never thought I'd be in a situation where I was more afraid of like the store owner than like the people that he's like supposedly trying to keep me safe from. So like then there was another dude who was in there that kept lecturing him, saying, you lose your cool like that on people, man. Look at all this stuff that you own. You have so much to lose. And then he screams at that guy saying, "Get out of here before I call the cops." And then he kicks him out and then locks me back in. And I'm like, I don't know why this guy thinks that he's like keeping me safe by holding me hostage. I want to get out of here. So I'm begging for my phone back and everything. And because I'm trying to get my phone back from this guy, all the guys he kicked out are now like staring at me angrily as if I'm like on his side or something. And I'm like, no, I just want to get the fuck out of here. And then,
I was a victim.
yeah, and like I guess I just wasn't as angry as y'all where I just want to fucking go home. And then of course it took me like 30 minutes to get an Uber while all these people were staring at me. So like funnily enough, in terms of LA, it's been like store owners that have been scaring me more than just like random strangers on the street.
I believe that, weirdly enough. Like I've been out to LA a handful of times. I don't think I was there long enough to have anybody threaten to kill me, unfortunately, just for the story's sake. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, like there is constantly weird shit out there too.
Yeah.
That's like,
but I mean, I live in like
living in a city, you know, is just, there's more people. So,
you know what?
You know.
No.
Yeah.
I got one more quick one. It was when I was in Japan. And
Ooh.
I went, because I stayed in Tokyo, I stayed in Kyoto, and then I stayed in Osaka. And when I was in Osaka, I was like walking out on this pier at night. It was like evening, sunset. And I was walking out of this pier, and I remember having this thought like, man, it's crazy that I'm here by myself on the other side of the planet right now. And like this like lady, this random like middle-aged lady like on a bike like rides up to me, and she goes like bang, 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 like with her fingers. And I'm like, and then she's like, and she looks like a crazy, and then she's like rides off, and I'm like, I'm not going to hang out here anymore.
Well, I don't think that they have guns in Japan, so I don't like. I'm sure they have some. I'm sure there's probably one, but like,
yeah,
the one lady, the one lady with the gun had to fucking come find me.
I mean, maybe she knew you were American, and maybe that was her way of like making fun of the gun country. Because I used to live in Japan when I was a kid, and yeah, no, there's a lot of older Japanese people that are racist as shit and xenophobic. So when they see an American person, that's probably what she was like imitating. So you probably just got.
I think everyone's just like really fucking like, I don't know too many cultures where they're just like, yeah, no, everyone's cool. Like it seems like every pocket of every civilization has like some sort of thing. And I think that we have it sort of like built into our laws a little bit more, but I've just heard so many stories of people going to so many different countries, and it's just like, oh yeah, the United States where we had slavery for 400 years sort of thing. And then like you just go to like Italy or something like that, and everyone's just outwardly racist to everybody that's not white. And it's just like, yeah, I think humanity's just, I think that we're all kind of just really bad.
Yeah.
We just need to start over, probably.
Like, I don't know if this is
ocean.
I don't know if this is a thing anymore, but I lived in Japan in the mid 2000s, and I remember being told that if a restaurant had a red sign, then Americans were like not allowed in. Like they were allowed to deny service just by being American because they hated our table manners. They hated how loud we were at tables. Why did you learn that the hard way?
No, everybody's actually pretty nice because I have studied a little bit of Japanese recently, but at the time I went, which is like 3 years ago, I basically had to act like a baby at restaurants and just point to things on the menu. Yeah. I want that. I want that. And they were fine with it.
Oh, yeah, I heard it's pretty normal to do that even if you are Japanese, just to point at the images, just because it takes faster.
And like I felt bad, and like, you know, they were being so nice to me and everything, and like after the meal I was like tip, you know, because I want to, like, you know, leave a tip because they were, you know, a wealthy tip because they were so nice to me, and they're tip, and then like they're just like all like like they look at the guy like tip, they're like, huh, tip, no, tip, and then like it caused so much chaos, and everybody's like tip, hold on, tip, and it just was like, I'm sorry, let me leave and never come back, I'm so sorry.
It's like it's like when a child is lost in like a department store and everyone's like, can everyone come pitch in and help and try and find this kid's parents? That was you. You were the kid. Please, Mr. Donald Trump, can you show me where a large cheese pizza is? And they couldn't.
Get this kid a hamburger. Anyway, Jab, I do want to ask you some questions about the stuff you're working on, because you are a very busy person. You have been, I was watching some of your recent YouTube videos on your newer channel. I know you launched an individual channel recently where you said that you've been making YouTube videos since you were a kid. Now, that doesn't surprise me because you have your hands in a lot of pies. You're working on a lot of stuff. You're working with the Living Tombstone. You got your own stuff, Funny Rave. You know, where to begin, man? Like, I just don't even know.
Oh, yeah. I remember that being like, like dominating the whole beginning of the last episode I was on, just like listing all the things I was working on. But I guess it was just because I was working on videos since I was a kid. Like, I just sucked at organizing. I sucked at pacing myself. I just wanted to get involved with as many things as possible. And I guess that drive just kind of stayed there because, like, I've learned that if I'm only known for like one or two things, that's not enough for my brain to like be fulfilled because I'm just used to so much chaos. So I think that's really all there is to it. Like, it's not that I'm like have a better work ethic than anyone else. My work ethic's probably the same as anyone else. I'm more comfortable with overwhelming myself than other people, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But I have been taking a little bit of a break recently. I put my Funny Rave show on hiatus for a bit just because the working on the show along with his other projects was just becoming way too stressful. So I have been taking it a little bit easier lately. At the moment, it's mostly just been the Living Tombstone and my personal stuff, as well as occasionally posting on YouTube thumbnails. So that's been like the three things I've been focusing on lately.
Yes. I know we wanted to talk to you about YouTube thumbnails because that's a pretty big Twitter account, and you've been kind enough to post a couple of our thumbnails. And of course, you know, once that happens, you get the comments in the video like, YouTube thumbnails brought me here. YouTube thumbnails brought me here.
Oh, nice. I'm glad I brought in a few new fans. Yeah, like I said in the last episode, it's come to a point where YouTube culture has kind of been growing aware of how ugly a lot of early thumbnails were back then, that people are starting to post them more at an ironic, more self-aware stance. So using that account, it's just been more fun posting stuff that my friends like work on more than anything else, just to like, it's kind of fun having that be more of an inside joke amongst YouTubers instead of like actively, because I still look for really bad ones, but I feel like most YouTubers now get that if they do anything extra, it's like either going to be ugly and it's going to look like you didn't try it enough, or you're in on the joke. And I just think it's more fun to just post thumbnails from people who are in on the joke at this point.
Yeah, you actually posted a thumbnail of from one of our friends' channels. I don't know if that was because our friend Alex Schultz with Be Nice to Me Productions.
I was gonna say, is it Alex?
Yes,
because like some of his thumbnails for a while were like, so I wasn't absolutely repulsive.
Yeah, like definitely riffing on that. Yeah,
I found this channel because a few years ago I made a Twitter video just like making fun of how a lot of video essayists or game YouTubers talk like this. They have to end every single sentence emphasizing the last three words. And like I started
speak,
like that's one of the speech patterns that I've noticed that a lot of YouTubers had. And then he like linked one of his skits that he did in the replies. And then I was like, "What's this Be Nice to Me Productions?" And I was like, "Oh, this is like a rehash, or not rehash, but like a recreation of like early MDE stuff." I love this because I missed a lot of early $1 million.
Yeah, that's a very apt connection.
Yeah, so I got hooked, and then when he posted the the one where he has to take a shit, but there's no toilet paper, or sorry,
when I have to take a poopy or something.
Where he has to take a poopy, and he has a big boner, and then like it just gets spammed with like every single green screen subscriber thing. I saw that thumbnail. Yeah. I saw that thumbnail and I was like, this is going to be the best of both worlds, because people who are in on the joke are just going to be happy that it's posted, and people who are not in on the joke are just going to be so fucking confused on why it just says he pooped with like their mouths open like that.
Yeah. I saw so many people like retweeting that or quote retweeting that, like who I knew in like completely separate from this, were like, this has to be the worst YouTube thumbnail ever. And Alex would find each and every one and just like respond with a link to his channel with like a link to the videos and stuff.
It's either that or he did with like the eyes. He made like the eyes like insane looking, just like black circles. Like it's horrifying.
He made. Remember, Grant? He made one with us for that video that never released. I don't know whatever happened with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I posted the thing about looking like Hassan Piker.
We shot a very fucking crazy video with Alex last year, and he had the thumbnail and everything ready for it, and he basically did us just like that thumbnail, like all fucked up and like beady-eyed and everything. And I don't know, I'll have to ask him if we're ever going to finish it, because like
I get the idea that he probably starts a lot of things and then maybe just, shelves it and starts working on other shit.
He's like you, Jab. He's constantly fucking like doing 10 things at once.
Oh, I believe it. Like, because his content is so like chaotic and high energy that that's definitely someone that constantly needs to stay busy like that. But when I post thumbnails like him, like I also posted the gamer girlfriend one, like when your girlfriend wants to have sex, but it's double XP weekends.
Oh,
like Like I posted that one too, and it's funny because it's either people that say it's the worst thumbnail or people that accuse it of being fake, and they accuse us of making the thumbnail. And it's like, no, it's a real thing. Like,
if you share the link to it, it's like you can just go and find it for yourself. Like it's the internet. You can just go to Google and just find it yourself. What the fuck? You just search the words in the thing. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think one thing that makes people think that is sometimes I wonder if the YouTube thumbnails account is the last gimmick account that stays at the core of what it's posting, because a lot of other accounts like Can You Pet the Dog or Shirts That Go Hard, I've noticed a lot of them start making their own original content, and then they start making merch of said content. So I don't know if that like granted some sort of cynicism that people think that we're doing the same thing and we're making fake YouTube thumbnails. But the format has never changed since we opened it up in 2014. It's all just strictly stuff that we find in the wild west of YouTube that makes us laugh. That's it. We're not changing the format anytime soon.
I hate that shit of manufacturing content like that. Like, it's just like, it just really bothers me when people do it. Kevin cut out. Let's, I guess, give him a second. All right, I guess Kevin's back, and I don't know how this is going to work with the video and the episode in general. However, I think I can't remember what we were talking about, but a good segue. Jab, we're talking about you have your fingers in a number of different pies. You pulled out a plum and with your thumb, and you said something. However, Jack Horner, whatever he does. But one thing that I wanted to, this is a great segue, right? Just crash seamless. And fall down the hill, seamless. But you're talking about you're taking on so many different projects, and you did recently sort of put an end to Funny Rave, which or Funnier Rave. Is it funny or funnier?
It's originally Funny Rave, but we got suspended during the January 6th Capitol riots. So funny story with that. You were there?
For too many memes?
Yeah, I was there, and they no.
You threw the first brick, I heard.
So during those riots, Twitter got like really afraid and started like mass suspending like so many people that they thought were like in any way involved with those people. And that was the time when Trump was like tweeting a bunch of like misinformation. So Twitter had to keep like putting like disclaimers saying, yo, this article might be butchered. This article might be fake. So past Donald Trump, they started doing it to anyone that were posting those articles. And my producer, Six, who had the Funny Rave account attached to his phone number, tweeted a picture of Mario, of like a Mario mascot, like a real life Mario mascot, and wrote Mario is real, and then linked to one of the articles that give you that disclaimer. So the tweet says Mario is real, disclaimer, this information might be fake. So because he links that account, because he links that article, Twitter suspended him because they like suspected him of being involved with the Capitol riots, and because his phone number was attached to the first Funny Rave Twitter, that got suspended as well. So
oh my god!
So when we brought back the new Funny Rave Twitter account, we just called ourselves Funnier Rave because we were like, oh, Twitter, you think you can bring us down? Well, guess what? We're even funnier now. This is just a stupid name change.
That is funnier. And I couldn't be any more glad to see Elon Musk proliferate and free us from our shackles of this despotic regime of @Jack. But
jokes are legal now. I heard about that.
Jokes are legal now. Comedy is back, baby. It's good again.
I'm so happy. This is like I know Elon gave you a hard time, Kevin, but you know this is the future that we wanted.
Yeah, he gave me a rough time, but you know we're just pals. He was just trying to razz me a little bit.
He was
in front of the whole world.
But yeah, it's not like ending for good. It's just on a hiatus because.
Right.
One thing we really want to do is, since the pandemic is like slowly fading away more and more, we want to try bringing it to like real life venues more often. And because it was called Funny Rave, and a lot of our acts tend to be like less traditional DJing and stuff, that kind of made some venues like apprehensive on booking us. So we're just putting Funny Rave to the side for a bit, just so me and my producer can figure out how to make this more accessible to the in real life crowds, because we learned the hard way how too online our show can be. So like we need to spend more time making it more accessible and more understandable to real life venues. But at the same time, the show in general was just overwhelming us a lot. So we're doubling it as, let's just take a little break, and also when we come back, try to make it more of a business, I guess, as lame as that sounds. But we just want to bring it above the internet now that we're not trapped in our homes as much anymore. So
I do want to say,
that's understandable.
Taking inspiration from my favorite television show, Saturday Night Live. They have an actress on Saturday Night Live. Y'all might have heard of her. Her name is Sarah Squirman. I think is her name. And she used to do a show in Chicago called Hell Trap Nightmare. And then she took that Chicago and took it to LA. And then I don't know what happened after that. And then she's in New York. But
yada, yada, yada. She got a job on Saturday Night Live.
Yada, yada.
I just reached out
yada, yada, an SNL job.
Hell Trap Nightmare was interesting because she would host it, and it was sort of just like a weird variety show. And I always liked that as like an idea of like everyone involved in different ways, and you have like a lot of like eclectic types of acts, but that it's all sort of strung through with this weird through line that makes it all like a tangible like thing that you can put forward to people and say like, oh, we are producing like this. And I think that there's a lot to be maybe stolen from that, especially if that's not happening anymore.
Right.
But that's just an idea. I'm not telling you how to live your life.
No, that's honestly like some inspiration, yeah, because seeing someone like her like being a part of the underground comedy scene and making like, she made like these Adult Swim shorts. I was a big fan of, like Flay Away, I think was one of them, and then the Sarah vaccine and stuff like that. And to see stuff as like underground and niche as that, and then see her transition to like the most mainstream platform for comedy of all time, like that, like she did something right. And that's definitely like the type of like path that, well, obviously not SNL levels, but like somewhere like along that path.
Oh, for sure.
Right. I do think that there's like a time and place for like a lot of weird stuff, and just like how much it's really hard to say, because we are in the era of reboots, and they are very financially successful, but at the same time we're all sick of them, but we can't stop with it. Like So it's a hard like line to toe, but I also know that with the success of things like Her, or with the success of like Smiling Friends and like all these different things that are sort of popping up, that it's like, I do think that there is a lot of the opportunity for a lot of people that do a lot of like weird shit to like come up through the mainstream. But there still does seem to be a lot of just like barrier to entry for like everyone at all times, and it does seem to be just who do you know, who's who's in your corner sort of thing, and it's a mixture of a lot of different things. I don't know.
Yeah,
no
and you think
it.
a time more than ever, like you said, when content is so saturated that people rely on reboots and stuff, you would think that they would give more avant-garde formulas a shot. But yeah, like every single time we tried to contact venues or other collaborators with us, they just go, so wait, so you guys don't DJ, you make YouTube poops, you make like what is that? Like people are still like I thought you guys make music. It's like, yeah, look at this, like look at all these people that are enjoying this like format of music, but because they still just they can't wrap their heads around the visuals being pre-made stuff, and like that people like video edit ahead of time, and how people are playing remixes of tracks instead of just playing them like in like a streamlined playlist. Like that's still like, it's something that a lot of people in real life can't wrap their heads around. And even just the name Funny Rave alone even throws them off, being like, how can you be music comedy? And I'm just like, you've never heard of music comedy before?
I was going to say that's been around like for fucking ever.
Weird Al has a fucking movie out, right? Like, what the fuck? No music comedy? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I guess since we're not doing it in a Weird Al fashion or like a Bo Burnham fashion, suddenly we're like hands off. Like, don't fuck with these people. So yeah, me and my producer have had meetings being like, is us being called Funny Rave just hurting us? Is that just like hurting us from going anywhere past Twitch?
Are you guys pitching it to like music venues?
We originally did, and we did get one small venue in New York, but then I tried like talking to other people who were there, and they were like, yeah, we just don't know if this format can work for just like random passerbys, because we did have like random people come in and then they would just like leave 15 minutes afterwards because they didn't like the format that we had. So we're taking a break from like traditional venues and like starting a bit smaller. We're going to like try to contact more conventions, because I think conventions would be more open to that format.
Yeah, conventions would be good. I feel like that's
either that
like
or
a
like
prime slot.
Have you guys tried like pitching at comedy venues? Like, I know.
Have you all come to the Lincoln Lodge in Chicago?
No, I haven't been to the Satellite. What was your suggestion, Grant?
I said, do you want to come to the Lincoln Lodge in Chicago?
That'd be cool.
You know, I think another person on our team actually went there and suggested that. So
that is like a good. We've done like 2 shows there. I feel like that is like another sort of, again, more of like a comedy, like you go there and you sit down sort of thing than it is a music venue. But I also feel like Chicago is like a bunch of weird. If you're just like, hey, we're gonna bring a bunch of people here. A lot of places in Chicago, I feel, are like, yeah, okay.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good point. Comedy venues should probably be something that we should focus on more. And then Chicago, like the few times that I've been there, I can tell like really it like welcomes more niche forms of entertainment with open arms. Like everyone says that with LA and New York, but I've been like having the worst luck with those 2 cities. So like Chicago might be the answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, I know I mentioned Satellite just because I know was like Neil Hamburger and a bunch of those guys would do like monthly shows of the Satellite, and it was a lot of experimentals, like Jay Weingarten, people like that, where it was people doing stuff that is weird and off the wall. And I think that there are places for that, but maybe not like a club or something. I don't know. I may be talking.
I will check that out. The Satellite, yeah. There was also one called the Elysian Theater that a friend suggested.
Yeah. I know some people who have done shows there. Yeah.
I was gonna say though, I think that there's you compare like the coasts with what we over here call the third coast, Chicago. Chicago seems to have a lack of pretension. There is pretension. We are the inventors and innovators of something you might have heard of called long form improv. We do it the best. We created it. It's like deep dish. It's like nobody actually eats it, but we made it, so you know about it. But I feel like with Los Angeles and with New York that there's so much competition and so many people are trying to legitimately make it, and it just raises the stakes that much more. And I feel like in Chicago, it's like, hey, you guys want to rent a theater and like do this show? They said that they would let us, and like there's a lot less pretension around doing that, and it's a lot less like cutthroat, and you have a little more room to be experimental, because so many of these bars just want people to come in and like have performances so that they can make like any sort of money, and there's like not as much competition, and I feel like it's like almost like a healthier environment to be in.
That's because like people come here to do that, then they get successful enough, and they're like, well, I guess I don't have to be in Chicago anymore.
Yeah, then they go to New York or LA. It's very
the
strange.
LA comedy scene is so unwelcoming. Like I went a few times with my other comedian friends, and like everyone in the audience wants you to fail. Like every single person that goes up there, like everyone in the audience like tries to be judgmental or tries to like give them a silent response so they can make them think that they bombed. So it's gone to the point where whenever a comedian friend invites me to one of those, I'll just do a non-bit. Like I went to Flappers with my friends and they signed me up, and I was like, okay. And instead of doing a real set, I just started counting how many empty chairs there were out in the audience because I just didn't care to impress these people. I just like hated like the vibes they were giving. So I just went up there and I was like, all right, 1, 2, sir, can you move? I can't see the chair behind you. 3, 4, 5.
That's
and
funny,
that was my whole
that actually goes back around to being actually funny.
Yeah, but everyone there was so upset, and then like I like burned bridges that night, so I was like, okay, that's the LA comedy scene, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very much my sense of humor, but I feel like Chicago is very welcoming, so it's actually kind of hard to pull off, you know? Because it's like you want to be.
Oh my god! I just thought of that fucking open mic we went to once, Grant,
where someone threatened to pull you out into the street and beat the shit out of you, or was that a different?
Not that one.
Kevin, you have a lot of enemies.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
A lot of people just look at you and just hate your face.
I think that must be it. Honestly, that must be it.
Were you the face I saw Elon Musk tweeting the other day?
Seriously, I don't know. Yeah, I was like looking over my shoulder that day. No, but it was a one open mic. It was where like there was this girl on stage. It was at No Shame Theater, and this girl was on stage doing sort of an avant-garde kind of like I don't want to say bad on purpose, but kind of awkward on purpose, like stumbling through. Oh, what was it? And this lady in the audience the whole time was like, "Don't worry, sweetie, you can do it. Come on." And it was just like you were ruining her whole thing she's trying to do.
I hate
that. I think that's worse than bombing. Yeah, is like having like condescending encouragement like that. Yeah.
And you could tell that she did not know what to do with it. And it was just like, oh my God.
I remember I was at the Improv Club with another friend who like signed me up as well. Like both times I went were like my other friends signing me up, and this was still like before like the pandemic really started clearing up. So they had us like disinfect the microphones after each one, and people were just disinfecting like the part of the microphone you hold. I started disinfecting the whole mic stands. And I started like disinfecting like the bass, and that was like a minute over my time. So everyone started booing me, and there's like a video of me cleaning the whole thing, and I'm just screaming at them saying, "You guys weren't cleaning the rest of the microphone. I'm trying to keep y'all safe." And they all just kept booing me.
God. Yeah, see, like that's what the kids are calling alt comedy, alternative comedy. It's comedy without the jokes.
There's a point to that too, where I look at a lot of alternative comedians that just do that type of stuff, and that's all that they do, and I go, there's a part of that seems almost too easy just to be like so in your face like that. And I always felt like anytime I would try and do stand-up, I would try and find the line in between, like how much of that can I get away with without being like overly like how, you know, because you see so many people do genuinely bad stand-up, and you also see a lot of people that go in and try and do their own interpretation of like, I'm trying to do bad stand-up, but I'm doing it to be like sort of ironic about it a little bit, as opposed to, and I always tried to do something that was more like somewhere along the lines of the first one, where I'm trying to force the awkwardness, but I'm not trying to do it ironically. I love like bad stand-up, like really much, and so much of it makes me laugh harder than someone who put in a lot of time and work and effort. And it's like, that's the type of stuff that I loved so much, is like, and it's like, how do you find that line of like, you're not doing it ironically, but you're doing it within the spirit of that.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the hedges and the hemming and hawing and stuff like that is just like, I was more fascinated with that than I was like, I was in an Uber the other day. You guys ever take Uber? I was on a Tinder date. You guys use Tinder? You swipe right and like, okay, yeah.
I guess that's kind of what An Evening with Tim Heidecker was like, where he started telling genuine jokes in the first half, and then the other half was him like messing up the same joke about Pepsi on purpose, and that ended up lasting like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite stand-up specials. That's the one on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. That was like perfect. That's like, if I could do that. The thing is, it's like, you know that this is the guy that's created Tim and Eric, so you know that it's going to be funny. But it's like, what if it's just a guy that you don't know? Is that going to be funny still? So that's what I would try and do.
It can be. I almost feel like maybe it's harder. It's harder to be good at being bad than it is to be good at being good.
In some ways,
I agree with you in some way. I don't fully know why. And it's also got to be hard too, because like it's got to be hard to be someone like Tim Heidecker and to try and do something bad, and people are going to laugh at it no matter what. I imagine I wonder if he goes through any sort of frustration with like, no, I want this to not be funny, and people are like, ha ha, and he's like, no,
did that
this
once,
is.
I'm sure.
He was telling a story about how he got stabbed one time, and like
I remember that.
He opened it up with like, this isn't going to be a funny story, but I'm a funny person, so you guys are probably going to laugh despite how serious this is. So like I could tell that was like a little bit of a cry for help, being like, oh, this guy's been in many situations where he can't tell serious things in his life without people laughing at him because they think he's joking or they think he's trying to make people laugh.
That was a crazy story too.
Tim's not so different from me. You know, people are trying to kill me. People are trying to kill him.
It's true, yeah.
And here we are laughing about it later on.
Well,
yeah. By the way, that was traumatic earlier. The guy with the dog.
We're all laughing.
Oh shit!
I'm
sorry,
laughing
Kevin.
on the outside,
sorry, Kevin.
Crying on the inside. No, I'll get over it somehow.
My B, dog. But yeah, Jab, I wanted to talk more about Funny Rave.
That's it.
Like,
no, don't say the D word, please.
Yeah, we need Kevin to heal before we can.
Sorry.
Before we can say that.
Yeah,
my bad. But I wanted to dip a little more into because you put out this press release, I guess you could say, about the future of Funny Rave, and saying that like a lot of you mentioned like, oh, we're trying to figure out what more to do with it, and can we like how do we grow it a little bit more, how do we package it and stuff like that. But you also mentioned like your own aspirations as like a content creator and stuff like that, and how you feel like sometimes some of these projects like get in the way of that. And I thought that was very interesting, and I think that a lot of people can sort of relate to that a lot. I mean, I certainly can. Are there like aspects like to what extent do you feel like right now you're trying to like, is that along the lines of like the YouTube channel that you're sort of working on more? In terms of like what you're trying to do beyond some of these other projects?
Yeah, truth be told, I'm not even fully sure right now if YouTube even is the avenue I want to go, but what I do know for a fact is I want people to like see Jab50yen, that name, and think of me more, because like I've noticed that like, especially when Funny Rave started, whenever people saw me, they didn't see Jab50yen as just me. They just saw it as, oh, you're the Funny Rave guy, or oh, you're the guy on this project and this project. And I guess I was like, I don't know how I feel about my name only being attached to things where the whole thing isn't my name, because Funny Rave yes, people will think my name, but they still think of the acts of other people that are not me. And I think that was getting to me a bit because Funny Rave is more of a service to like the music community back when we couldn't do shows in real life. And that like became, so I guess I was just getting a little bit insecure with being more of a shadow behind other projects that I made instead of like people thinking of me as a person. So yeah, like doing YouTube is like one of my attempts at seeing like, let's see if I can make me as a person more known when people think of me. So like YouTube content is one of the avenues. I'm doing a podcast called Dual Layer with the Stop Posting About Among Us guy. So that's another case of, okay, maybe I want to be known as a podcaster. Maybe I want to be known for my opinions more and whatnot.
Be careful.
Yeah, any advice from y'all on that?
No, I don't know. Like, to be honest, I really feel we were coming at it hardcore because like sometimes like Grand Tribe will be on a show, and you know I may be credited as like Officer Kevin or like Thought Cop Kevin, and it's like I do other stuff and I want to be doing even more than that, but
Right.
you know I'm not just one of the hosts from Thought Cops. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I'm not
think
offended when somebody does that, but it's like, I mean, obviously, like I put the most time and effort into Thought Cops because I've been doing it for so long. But I have layers. You know what I mean?
He's like an ogre. I think that we sort of ran into a point in time also where we were trying to grow the show more, and it was like, why are we trying to just grow the show when the two people that are doing the show don't even have like as wide of a presence sort of thing? Like, instead of tuning into, this show called Thought Cops, it's like, people will seek us out more if we are Kevin and Grant from Thought Cops. And so that's where like Kevin started doing a lot of like the writing for Hard Drive. And I started like leaning more into like making TikTok videos and shit like that, and like gaining some sort of a following on there so that I could pull people in and be like, hey, I also do a podcast. And it's one of those things too where it's like I kind of don't give a shit about TikTok insofar as it being an end all be all like platform to like be creative on, but I also do use it to leverage any amount of views that I can get and like drag it back here because this is the project that I care the most about.
And I know at least one of you listening or watching definitely followed me here to stalk me from the Elon Musk thing. So
there's definitely.
But
which did happen. For sure happened.
Absolutely. That was like the biggest account on Twitter. So one person for sure. But yeah, it sounds like we're all dealing with the same struggles. Like it's better to be known as like, this is Grant and Kevin's podcast, the Thought Cops, and not, this is Thought Cops with host Kevin and Grant. Like you want to be known for yourselves more, and then people find out eventually, these comedians I really like have a podcast. Let's listen to that because I'm a fan of that comedian.
And like I was actively doing more stand up too. I think especially pre-COVID, I was pretty active. And that was cool because like I met a lot of people who became like regular guests of the show and friends of mine. And it was also like, check out the show I do. I do a podcast. Or it's like, we have a stand-up comedian who hosts a podcast, vice versa. So it all kind of feeds into each other. And that's something I really like about, to use the pie analogy again, we have our fingers in many different pies at once, which is a fantasy of mine in general. But, it's just like... It's like I always want to be doing more, and like something I personally am struggling with recently is like I started a new full-time job, and it's content related. Like I'm a content producer for a company, and it's like I'm kind of like really trying to move my. I don't know. I'm having a hard time kind of like moving my energy around properly and just kind of adjusting to a new situation too, and then being like, but I want to do more like creative stuff too, but I also need a job because this doesn't behave right now. So I'm like, that's the struggle. And it's like I've had full-time jobs for a long time, but this I'm back in an office. I work a little more than I used to, and at least for now. But anyway, that's my personal shtick going on right now.
The good thing about doing a podcast is you don't have to be talented or smart or funny or any. You just show up and you just talk. Just blah, 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 blah. Vaccines don't exist. They're not real. Jamie, pull that up. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. You just be a complete fucking... Here, this is my impression of a podcaster. You guys ready?
Oh, okay.
Jamie, pull that up. See, if you're listening at home, if you're not watching the YouTube video, I put my thumb in front of the camera so that I looked like Joe Rogan.
I thought that was an image.
Oh, I see.
Up.
Jamie, pull that up.
I thought you were sharing your screen.
Yeah, you got us for a second until you pulled your thumb out.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, that's what got to me the most was, like when people start talking about these projects more than myself as a person, then you get into that insecure state of like, I mean, thank you for liking my Twitch show, but I also do like video art. I also do comedy. Like, can we talk about that maybe? And then it just goes, but Funny Rave, da 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 da. And it's like, all right, I need to make myself more known instead of just someone like having their fingers in like lots of pies and then just being okay with being a background character.
And the struggle too is then it's like you want to be doing more, but then it's also like if you're doing too much, you're half-assing a lot of things. It's like the great Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation said. He said, I love bacon and eggs and breakfast. No, he said, I don't know, something you gotta don't half-ass a bunch of things, whole ass one thing. Which again,
yes and no, because sometimes people are just good. It's like on one of the newer episodes of Fire Bros that should be out relatively soon. If it's not out by the time that this podcast is out, we talked about the Mars Volta. And one of my favorite musicians is Omar Rodriguez Lopez, who has released like 100 solo albums and also has directed 2 or 3 movies. And it's just like sometimes people just can do a lot of things, that's also completely possible. And like to take that away from some people would be like, well, would he be creating the music that he's making without sometimes making a movie in between that, but I think
it's
a
like
lot
Musashi
of times
Miyamoto once said, Grant, you have to be a good podcaster. You have to also
study
do
the
stand-up comedy. You also have to do TikTok videos. You also have to have a YouTube channel.
Right.
And that's basically like why I put one of the reasons why I put Funny Rave on hiatus, to see if I need to push myself out there or if I end up not liking it and I'm just completely okay with being a background character. Because I thought I was for a while. I thought I was okay with just being, the editor for other YouTubers, and then, the person that runs this. But like just being known for that and not more of myself got to me a bit. So that's the journey.
Yeah.
That's the journey that I'm going through. And I'm sure a lot of people who are listening are also going through it, because the internet is so saturated right now with personalities that it's
too many personalities. Right, that's what I say.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that someone that like maybe handles that struggle, in my opinion, pretty well is Grant Dufferin from the 3GI, who has been responsible for the insanely popular Shrek Retold series and the creator of the world's largest Shrek festival. And he seems to have a
possibly the only one? Oh no, there was another.
The only one.
Wasn't there?
There's that like
Shrek
Rave.
There's
bullshit.
Shrek Rave. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
That's bullshit. That's some irony poison bullshit. Shrekfest is a family-friendly festival. There should be. I'm Team Shrekfest. But he seems to take a lot of that in stride, and from every time we talk to him, he seems to be very much of the opinion of like, hey, if this is what people get out of it, I'm just happy people are enjoying Shrek. And it's like, man, I wish I could set my ego aside like you can and like be able to do that, because I want people to see my face and be like, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, no,
so that I can then go, don't actually look at me. I'm not comfortable with this.
Well, you are the dude from Chicago. You know,
I'm trying to get away from that actually.
Oh crap!
But one thing that I find
you got to move.
One thing that I
now you're an LA comedian.
Yeah, maybe to a safer city.
Yeah, I'm one
where people don't constantly try to kill me.
Chicago's actually relatively safe compared to a lot of the rest of the country.
You.
If you look in those, probably.
Well, when you're someone like Grant who ignores the strangers that provoke them, and not Kevin who responds.
Kevin, have you tried being 6'4" and 240 pounds? Have you tried that?
I am trying my goddamn best.
Because most people don't fucking look at me. Okay, they just go no, and I just go.
Actually,
well, I don't.
You know what one of my strategies has been for a while is nobody fucking bothers you on the train if you also look homeless.
Oh,
that's a good point. Yeah.
I do feel like sometimes like a homeless guy looks at me and he's like, I'm going to keep walking.
It's the smell, Kevin.
It's the smell. It's the look. It's everything. You got to live the homeless life, except for the having a home part, I guess.
Well, one thing that I have found in my own endeavors, and I've been working towards this a little bit more, because sometimes you just get the muse of like, what really sort of like makes me want to keep doing some of this stuff. And for me, that's been going back and like listening to a lot of music that I used to listen to. And I don't really play music anymore. But even before I did a lot of music content, I always wanted to like write and be a writer. And so like lately I've been like writing a novel, and I've been writing like a series of essays too that I like created like a Substack. And I'm like, I just like, even if it's not, because I think that there's this trend of like the immediacy of you create YouTube videos, you create like Twitch or, you know, Twitter or, the other TikTok or Tumblr content, and you put it out there because these are the platforms and stuff like that. There's also part of me that's like, I feel like I've always been good at like writing words down to a page, and maybe there's an aspect to that where if I start leaning into that a little bit more and putting stuff out, that if people like know me for that, and then if again I can turn those into podcast listeners and stuff like that, or you know however some of that interplay works. But I think sometimes
don't
just
feel
like
too
going
tied to
back
this
and
podcast,
thinking, like,
Grant. You can write a book without having to be a
my face is on there, you know, half of it at least. But, you know, I think that that's probably true for a lot of people, is like what makes you tick, like what interests you and makes you want to keep going and keep creating and stuff like that. And like, is there an intersection of some of these platforms and like what you want to do with it that really sort of like speaks to you that you can then put out that people relate to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, these are just like my opinions. You don't have to listen to anything that I say. These are just my musings.
Well, as we said in the Ari Grab episode, it all comes down to just wanting to be validated. Is that so much to ask for?
Just to be loved.
Yeah. We're all doing this because we're trying to get the love our parents didn't give us, right? That's why we're all doing this stuff.
Exactly. The internet became our babysitters.
I think strangers on Twitter will be my babysitter.
But I also think that, like, you know, there's an aspect to creating things, too, where it's like, I want people to get something out of what I do in some sort of way, if that's just, you know, because it's like, we reviewed this for Fire Bros, Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's like, me watching that movie, there was such like an emotionally charged connection to that movie, where it really was like, I feel such like a level of positivity from this and from engaging with this. And it's very comforting to know that someone like created something so impactful, and that like, that there's this sense that like, oh, there's other things that you can do as a creator that someone might get something out of that also. It's not just like, I need the validation, but it's like, I also do this so that people get something out of what I do. And like, insofar as that's from this podcast or from I write a book or something like that, like, great. But, you know, there's many different ways to, you know, skin a cat, so to speak.
Yeah, it's all until you finally find the groove. And a set of hats to wear that you're comfortable with. And yeah, some people just get it more than others. And are we going to skin a cat live on Thought
We're going to
Cops?
skin a cat live on Thought Cops.
Oh my God.
Oh no. Your cat seems weirdly okay with it.
No, she hates being held. Kevin, who you texting?
I'm actually trying to find the. I forgot to look up our Patreon thing because I'm gonna do it on my computer because I couldn't figure it out on my phone. I want to give a shout out to one of our oldest Patreon subscribers here in a second, which is patreon.com/thoughtcops. I was hoping that this won't crash my computer again. Let's find out. You know what? Actually, while I do pull that up, Grant, why don't we listen to a couple voicemails?
Yeah. If you would like to leave a voicemail, you can call the Thought Cops hotline at 312-788-7361. Or if you want to record an audio file and then send it to us in MP3 format, hopefully, please, thank you. You can email that MP3 to thoughtcopspodcast@gmail.com. Hey, we have 2 voicemails that we can play right now. Why don't we take a listen? The first one is from Brandon Kirkman.
Hey, Thought Pops, it's your boy Brandon Kirkman. Sorry I haven't been calling as much. I have a baby now. I don't know if you're great about this, but babies are a lot of time. You gotta make sure they don't die, and that's kind of hard to do. Anyways, I noticed you happened on Jab today. I like him a lot. Great follow on Twitter, if that's still around. And actually, that's my voicemail. As you know, it's all quickly crumbling. I'm sure you already talked about the Muskie boy on today's episode, but I do need to ask, a little bit. What do you all think would be the funniest way for Elon Musk to make Twitter go under at this point? If it involves him possibly dying or passing away because of it too, that's perfectly fine. You can use in Minecraft rules, but I kind of want it to happen for real. Anyways, bye.
There we go.
Nice.
I think it's just going to become like untenable. I think that have any of you noticed Twitter, like, it hasn't been having outages, but it's been having like bugs, like certain tweets just won't load for me lately. And I don't know if that's because he fired most of the staff, that certain parts aren't like working as well as they were.
Yeah, it's been really sluggish, and whenever I try to change my profile picture, my entire timeline will not load. I have to force stop it and clear the cache and everything to bring it back to normal. And that hasn't been a thing that I've had a problem with until Elon bought it.
Well, he fired everyone that like keeps it up and running, and so it's like at some point, if this just becomes an unusable app, like people aren't going to keep using it if it just is buggy and shitty.
I was talking about it the other day, but I have a feeling the site will be sold back to someone else soon, because I feel like Elon buying Twitter is kind of like a recreation of the social network, where like Elon is doing this thing with like one of the biggest platforms just to win the love of a girl back. Like, I really think he's still in love with Grimes, and he's trying to do all this shit to like try to impress her and bring her back. And then when he realizes that that's not going to happen, I feel like he's just going to sell it back. I really feel like all this Elon stuff's going to last for maybe 1 or 2 more weeks at most.
That would be great. That's the social network is David Fincher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great if David Fincher was like, guess what, guys? Social Network Part 2.
I would say that too. I would be so excited. But that whole movie.
Trent Reznor does the soundtrack again.
Yes. Oh my God. But yeah, like that whole movie just implied that Zuckerberg's whole motivation to do all that shit was to win a girl back. And I see like a mirrored effect of Elon doing that just in hopes to get Grimes back. Because everyone was making those jokes of, Elon just wants to buy Twitter to view Grimes' DMs to see if she still loves him or not. Like,
right. They should get Michael Cera to be Elon Musk, because Jesse Eisenberg was Mark Zuckerberg, and because those two are always switched for some reason. I never understood that. I always knew that they were 2 different people, but that
they
would
look
be great.
A little similar, but not like.
They're just like the nerd character or whatever, but that would be great if Michael Cera was Elon Musk. I think that would be. I would watch the shit out of that. And he just plays it completely straight, like not for any laughs. He's just himself, and he just plays Elon Musk. Would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
I guess that's all for that. Let's move on to a second voicemail here.
Hey, did any of you guys watch the Treehouse of Horror Death Note thing?
No.
Because, like, I find myself thinking that it's really cool, but I just don't care enough about The Simpsons to actually go out and watch the episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should I check it out? Kevin, I'm sure you have an answer.
I do.
All right, have a good one. Bye.
Good.
I did watch it, actually, yes. I love The Simpsons. It's my favorite show, and that's with a big asterisk next to that says, like, maybe seasons 1 through 10, maybe up to 12 if I'm being generous. After that, no thanks. That being said, yeah, I've tuned in over the years, like, out of morbid curiosity to see, like, what some of the new ones were. And yeah, I watched the Halloween special a couple of years ago, and it was, like, unwatchably bad. And then I watched the new one this year because I saw they were doing Death Note, and I'm like, all right, that's kind of interesting, you know. Like, I love Death Note, I love The Simpsons.
I thought that was some, like, YouTube animator that just, like, made that as, like, a joke. Like, hey guys, everybody, look, The Simpsons made Death Note,
kind of like Barkira.
I don't know what that is.
That was like
familiar with that.
There was this, like, internet. I don't know. Do you remember this, Jab? It was on Tumblr way back in the day. There was, like, a collective of artists who they redid every single page from the Akira manga, but it was a Simpsons parody. It was like a parody of parodies. You know, like The Simpsons parodies all these movies and TV shows, and, like, this, like, fan project was like, well, let's, like, lean into this, like, 120% and, like, do every single chapter of the Akira manga, and all the characters just, like, somebody different from The Simpsons, and, like, Bart was Kaneda, I think Milhouse is probably Tetsuo, and so on and so forth.
I think I saw a little bit of it. Yeah, I missed out on a lot of Tumblr culture, but I think I saw, like, at least a little bit of that, like, being reposted on Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah, it was like dozens of artists that made this whole thing together, and they sell, like, a physical version of it too. At least they did at some point. But that being said, it's interesting because, like, Simpsons is now being written probably by a lot of people who are close to our age, you know, who may have grown up with Death Note, you know, watched it as a teenager or even a child maybe. So we're seeing kind of a shift in that, and I'm also, like, thinking it's interesting because we're seeing a shift, and it's not like, you know, you had the dream team of writers back in the day, and then, you know, that shifted over time to a bunch of people who maybe weren't as good, and then now you're getting a crop of writers who write for the show who grew up on The Simpsons, who were raised by The Simpsons, who probably know the show better than, like, the people who did maybe in seasons 13 through 30 or whatever the fuck. So now we're getting an interesting influx of things like that. I'm somewhat curious to check out more, but yeah, I did, to answer your question, I watched Death Tome, you know, a parody of Death Note, and I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was actually pretty decently clever and funny. I watched the whole Halloween episode. Actually, they did a parody of Babadook called the Pookadook, which that wasn't so good. But they had another one. They had another one, though. It was a parody of Westworld called Simpsons World, and that one was actually pretty clever. So it was like this, you know, like the premise of Westworld, where these people in the future go to this Western world, they can interact with everything. But it was like the real world where people would go through this machine, and they were like, you know, it looked like something out of Futurama because they had, like, you know, normal colored skin, and they go through this machine that turns them into yellow people. And they would get to go through classic episode or classic moments from classic Simpsons episodes. So it's all these obsessive fans, and then it starts to malfunction and go crazy, and they got to start killing. You know, the robots become sentient. So that was pretty good. I think, you know, overall, and the Death Tome one was cool because it was animated by. I don't think it was done by Studio Madhouse, the people who did Death Note the anime, but I think it was done by some similar animators. Lisa was the stand-in for Light Yagami. Barto was L Barto. And
okay.
There was actually, like, they had Lisa was they did the whole killing montage, but she was like trying to like be creative with each one, and she was kind of running out of ideas, and the Shinigami would like, kind of like make fun of her for like not being creative enough. And then she's like, how about death from alligator out of toilet? And then she does that. Then she like comes up and she's like, what if a tiger popped out of a toilet? And they're going through this whole like montage with that sweeping orchestral Death Note kind of music, and yeah, overall, I would say it's worth a watch if you just want to watch the one segment. I'm sure you could probably find it on YouTube somewhere. If not,
did they do the chip part? Did they reference the chip?
No, I mean they had to like condense the entire series into like an 8-minute segment.
That just feels like the part that they should have included.
I
take
could
a
see
potato
that.
chip and eat it.
Yeah. They did that part, but she didn't need a potato chip. Basically, it was that scene.
Well, then what's the point?
Good question. Yeah,
that is a good reason. That is a good reason to be optimistic, though, because like The Simpsons is here to stay. It's never going away. So like to at least know that at least means in the future the writers will be like people that grew up with the show and care about it more than like people earlier that just wanted to get episodes out. That should hopefully mean that episodes will start getting better in the future.
I mean, there's people like who write for the show now who are like either guests or hosts on podcasts that I find very funny. So I'm like, well, I don't know why it wouldn't be good. I think overall it doesn't even come down to the writing quality. I think just the show's format. It's like, how many new jobs can Homer have? How many times are Homer and Marge going to have an argument, maybe get a divorce? How is Bart going to get into, like, there's a episode where Bart gets into esports.
Yeah, I was about to say, I remember that one, like, being at least mildly appreciated by the internet, but that was the last time I saw the internet ever, like, until the Death Note episode, like, give credit to, like, an episode that stood out. But other than that, I don't hear much about The Simpsons.
It's so difficult, too, because it's like, in my head, The Simpsons is still quintessentially a show that took place in the 90s.
Yes.
And to imagine a child from the 90s, a.k.a. Bart, doing esports, or Lisa starts a podcast is just like very, like, it's just like, you guys didn't have podcasts in the 90s, but this also isn't the 90s anymore, but you're still 10, and I get how
like Homer's like on his back on the couch with an iPad.
Yeah,
it
feels
part
unnatural.
of me that just like, I don't know what it is, and I don't know if there's a fix for it, because they're not going to make the characters older,
And you would think the show would be smart enough to have some. You would think they would have like a joke as to why they don't age. You would think the show at this point would make a joke about that, but
they probably have at some point in the 1,000
shoehorned
episodes.
A couple.
Yeah, I haven't seen everyone, so maybe they did. But
not to completely go off on the Simpsons tangent. Last thing I want to say though is like, so when they would do like in the early seasons, they would do a flashback episode. Oh, this was when Bart was born, and it was like if it was an episode from 1990, Bart's 10. So they flash back to 1980. And I've been rewatching, like I said, some of the older episodes with my girlfriend recently because she hadn't seen them. And I made her watch them. And basically, like, there would be episodes where it's like...
Forced her to watch.
Yeah, more or less,
the Clockwork Orange things so she couldn't look away.
Well, I give her eye drops.
Well, that's nice at least, yeah.
But they have but then there's an episode from for example, 1993, and it's a flashback, and now Bart is born in 1983, so the timeline is continuously shifting. Back then, we don't think of it because who cares, right? It's before the show started. But then there was a couple of years ago, they had an episode where Homer was a teenager in a flashback episode in the 90s. I knew him then. He was 36. Like, that's when it starts to get tricky, when it's like, when not only was The Simpsons around, but it was a massive cultural touchstone, and you're going to pretend that Homer was a teenager then? And he was into breakdancing?
And it's just weird because it is still, like, grounded as it's supposed to be somewhat of a parody of the like sort of shows like All in the Family and Archie Bunker. Like Homer's supposed to be like cartoon Archie Bunker, and so it's grounded in the sense that it's not a completely surrealistic show where they're just like, fuck it, do whatever. It's like it's still, they're down to earth characters that still try and go through like this cycle of like very human moments sort of thing. It's not just like, it's not the same thing as like Xavier Renegade Angel, where it's just like none of it makes sense, so you can do whatever. It's like they still are people, so more or less sort of thing. They're yellow colored skinned people, but like they're people, you know. There's a level to it where it is still supposed to be somewhat reflective of reality, and it's this weird line of like, the longer the show goes on for, the more you're just like this is just weird. This is I don't know.
Like, it's kind of like what I was saying with Scooby-Doo recently, where like that IP has been around for so long, but the characters are very clearly like stereotypes or caricatures of what existed in the 1970s. The Simpsons is the same thing. Like a character like Otto the bus driver is very much a 90s, you know, burnout kind of guy, and having him do things in 2022 in that personality, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But
they can't make so many weed jokes because weed is legal in so many places now. He's just a normal guy now. He just talks weird.
There's probably an episode about that if I had to guess. Anyway, yes, the Death Tome special was pretty good. Zwick. I think that was Zwick.
Shouts out Zwick.
I think that just about does it.
Yeah. 312-788-7361, or send us an audio file to thoughtcopspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, throw us a few bucks over at patreon.com/thoughtcops. We'd greatly appreciate it. You get to hang out in the live episode chats and get a backlog of bonus content with our spin-off show Fire Bros, which, as Grant said, there should be a new episode coming out
by the time this comes out. So,
if not, very, very soon. So keep an eye out for that.
It's recorded, so yeah.
Yes, it's done. It's done. I guess you'll just have to wait and find out, because I forgot what we talked about already.
The Mars Volta self-titled album. We rewatched Tropic Thunder to see if it still holds up. And third
The Boys,
thing,
season 3.
The Boys, season 3.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Well, I didn't get a chance to talk about the VR headset that kills you if you die in the game. Maybe next time I'll bring it up.
Fuck! Next
anyway.
On the next episode of Thought Cops.
This VR headset does what when you play it?
If you die in the game, you die in real life.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Well, we're going to do a podcast.
Bleep that out. Yeah.
A podcast where you die if you bomb. If you die in real life.
It's going to be every day, every episode.
Yeah. Anyway, Jeb, before we sign off, can you let our listeners know where they can find you, all your wonderful content, your social media presences?
Jab50yen everywhere. JAB50yen. Twitter is where I'm the most annoying, the most active on there. My YouTube channel is the same name. Funny Rave will eventually come back, most likely, definitely in 2023, sometime around there. So we'll let y'all know what future stuff we're doing there. But yeah, I'm mostly just going to be chilling, making videos and stupid tweets. So that's pretty much it for now.
Cool.
Heck yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming back on the show. Pleasure to have you, as we're also starting to work out what is Thought Cops Season 2. I had an idea. You know how, like in anime, how there's like different names for story arcs?
Of course.
This is going to be called Thought Cops New World Order arc.
Yeah,
I've been thinking, because it's like we're not so much policing the internet, but it's obviously still, we're talking about things that are very still within the vein of what we usually talk about. It's just a little looser. So maybe this is like we're the undercover something, or this is behind the desk, or there's got to be some sort of theme. I think that definitely grasps something. I think that there's something there, something you're onto. We need to explore it more, but we're both very busy with real life and not our pretend funny little universe.
Yeah, we'll think of a pretend anime story arc name when we're not fucking busy.
The Zwick retrieval arc.
Yeah, Sasuke. We'll just call it that, the Sasuke retrieval arc. Anyway, Jab. Jab, thanks again. Thank you all for listening. Patreon.com/thoughtcops. Absolutely. We'll see you guys next. Hey, wait, no. I'll see you on the other side.
There you go. Still don't like it. See you, Space Cop.